58. Two minds cause disorder in the great cosmos. It's hard for one body to realize true nirvana. After our pilgrim and Shamunk kowtowed to take leave of the Bodhisattva, they rose on two beams of auspicious light and departed from the South Sea. Now, the cloud somersault of Pilgrim, you see, was much faster than the mere cloud soaring of Shamunk. He therefore wanted to speed ahead, but Shamunk pulled him back, saying, "Elder brother, you need not try to cover up or hide your tracks by getting there first. Let me travel right beside you." The great sage, of course, was full of good intentions, whereas Shamunk at that moment was filled with suspicion. So, the two of them rode the clouds together, and in a little while, they spotted the Flower Fruit Mountain. As they lowered their clouds to glance around, they found indeed outside the cave another pilgrim, sitting high on a stone ledge and drinking merrily with a flock of monkeys. His looks were exactly the same as those of the great sage. He, too, had a gold fillet clamped to his brownish hair, a pair of fiery eyes with diamond pupils, a silk shirt on his body, a tiger kilt tied around his waist, a golden hooped iron rod in one of his hands, and a pair of deerskin boots on his feet. He, too, had a hairy face, a thunder god beak, an empty jowl unlike Saturn's, two forked ears on a big, broad head, and huge fangs that have outward grown. His ire aroused, our great sage abandoned Shamunk and rushed forward, wielding his iron rod and crying, "What sort of a fiend are you that you dare change into my appearance, take my descendants captive, occupy my immortal cave, and assume such airs?" When that pilgrim saw him, he did not utter a word of reply. All he did was meet his opponent with the iron rod. The two pilgrims closed in, and you could not distinguish the true one from the false. What a fight! Two iron rods. Two monkey sprites. This fight of theirs is truly no light thing. They both want to guard the royal brother of Tang, each seeking merit to acquire great fame. The true ape accepts the poverty faith. The specious fiend utters false Buddhist claims. Their magic gives them transformations vast. They're exact equals, that's the honest truth. One is the equal to heaven sage of the unified breath of composite prime. One is a long-cultivated sentient spirit, able to shorten the ground. This one is the compliant golden hooped rod. That one is the acquiescent staff of iron. They block and parry and fight to a draw. They buck and resist, and neither can win. They join hands at first outside the cave. Soon they rise to do battle in midair. Treading on the cloudy luminosity, the two of them rose into the sky to fight. On the side, Shamunk did not have the courage to join the battle, for he found it truly difficult to distinguish between the two of them. He wanted very much to lend his assistance, but he feared that he might inadvertently inflict harm on the real pilgrim. After waiting patiently for a long while, he leapt down from the mountain cliff and wielded his fiend-rooting staff to disperse the various fiends outside the water curtain cave. He then overturned the stone benches and smashed to pieces all those eating and drinking utensils, before searching for his two blue woolen wraps. They were, however, nowhere to be seen. The cave, you see, was located actually behind a huge waterfall, which had the entrance neatly hidden as if it were behind a white curtain. That was the reason for the name, Water Curtain Cave. Shamunk, of course, had no idea of its history or its layout, and it was therefore difficult for him to make his search. Unable to recover his wraps, Shamunk again mounted the clouds to rush up to midair. He held high his treasure staff, but he simply dared not strike at either of the combatants. "Shamunk," said the great sage, "if you can't help me, go back to Master and tell him about our situation. Let Old Monkey do battle with this fiend all the way to the Potalaka mountain of South Sea, so that the Bodhisattva can distinguish the true from the false." When he finished speaking, the other pilgrim also said the same thing. Since both of them had exactly the same appearance, and there was not even the slightest difference even in their voices, Shamunk could not distinguish one from the other. He had no choice but to change the direction of his cloud and go back to report to the Tang monk. We shall now leave him for the moment. Look at those two pilgrims instead. They fought as they journeyed. Soon they arrived at the Potalaka mountain in the South Sea, trading blows and insults all the time. All the continuous uproar quickly alerted the various guardian deities, who rushed inside the tidal sound cave to say, "Bodhisattva, there are indeed two Sun Wukongs who have arrived fighting." The Bodhisattva immediately descended from her lotus platform to go out of the cave with her disciples Mach, the boy skilled in wealth, and the dragon girl. "Cursed beasts!" she cried. "Where do you two think you are going?" Still entangled together, one of them said. "Bodhisattva, this fellow indeed resembles your disciple. We started our battle from the water curtain cave, but we have not yet reached a decision even after such a long bout." The fleshy eyes of Xiao Wujing were too dim and dull to tell us apart, and thus he couldn't help us even if he had the strength. "Your disciple told him to go back to the road to the west and report to my master. I have fought with this fellow up to your treasure mountain because I want you to lend us your eyes of wisdom. Please help your disciple to distinguish the true from the false, the real from the perverse." When he finished speaking, the other pilgrim also repeated the same words. The various deities and the Bodhisattva stared at the two for a long time, but none could tell them apart. "Stop fighting," said the Bodhisattva, "and stand apart. Let me look at both of you once more." They indeed let go of each other and stood on opposite sides. "I'm the real one," said one side. "He's a fake," said the other. Asking Maka and goodly wealth to approach her, the Bodhisattva whispered to them this instruction. "Each of you take hold of one of them firmly, and let me start reciting in secret the tight fillet spell. The one whose head hurts is the real monkey. The one who has no pain is specious." Indeed, the two disciples took hold of the two pilgrims as the Bodhisattva recited in silence the magic words. At once the two of them gripped their heads and rolled on the ground, both screaming, "Don't recite! Don't recite!" The Bodhisattva stopped her recital, and the two of them again became entangled together, fighting and shouting as before. Unable to think of anything else, the Bodhisattva asked the various deities and Maka to go forward to help, but the gods were afraid that they might hurt the real person and they, therefore, dared not raise their hands. Sun Wukong called the Bodhisattva, and the two of them answered in unison. "When you were appointed by Mon," she said, "and when you brought chaos to heaven, all those celestial warriors could certainly recognize you. You go up to the region above now, and they should be able to distinguish between the two of you." This great sage thanked her, and the other pilgrim also thanked her. Tugging and pulling at each other, screaming and hollering at each other, the two of them went before the south heaven gate. The Devaraja Virupak was so startled that he led Ma, Zhao, Wen, and Guan, the four great celestial warriors, and the rest of the divine gate attendants to bar the way with their weapons. "Where are you two going?" they cried. "Is this a place for fighting?" The great sage said, "I was accompanying the Tang monk on his way to acquire scriptures in the western heaven. Because I slayed some thieves on the way, that Tripitaka banished me, and I went to tell my troubles to the Bodhisattva Guanyin at the Potalaka mountain. I have no idea when this monster spirit assumed my form, struck down my master, and robbed us of our wraps. Shamunk went to look for our things at the Flower Fruit Mountain, and discovered that this monster spirit had taken over my lair. Thereafter, he went to seek the assistance of the Bodhisattva, and when he saw me standing at attention beneath the platform, he falsely accused me of using my cloud somersault in order to cover up my faults. The Bodhisattva, fortunately, was righteous and perceptive. She didn't listen to Shamunk, and told me to go with him instead to examine the evidence at the Flower Fruit Mountain. I discovered there that this monster spirit indeed resembled Old Monkey. We fought just now from the Water Curtain Cave to the place of the Bodhisattva, but even she found it difficult to tell us apart. That's why we came here. Let all of you deities take the trouble of using your perception and make distinction between the two of us." When he finished speaking, that pilgrim also gave exactly the same account. Though the various gods stared at them for a long time, they could not tell the difference. "If all of you can't recognize us," the two of them shouted, "stand aside and let us go see the Jade Emperor." Unable to resist them, the various deities had to let them through the heaven gate, and they went straight up to the treasure hall of divine mists. Martial Ma dashed inside with Zhang, Ge, Shi, and Xiu, the four celestial masters, to memorialize, saying, "There are two Sun Wukongs from the region below who have fought their way into the heaven gate. They claim they want to see the Emperor." Hardly had they finished speaking when the two monkeys brawled their way in. The Jade Emperor was so taken aback that he stood up and came down the treasure hall to ask, "For what reason did the two of you enter the celestial palace without permission? Are you seeking death with your brawling before us?" "Your Majesty! Your Majesty!" cried our great sage. "Your subject has already made submission and embraced the vow of poverty.